Hey everybody, welcome to another chapter of Hyper-Borea. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment. Also, if you're enjoying this audio experience, please consider hitting the Amazon link in the description and buying a copy of the book. The Amazon Kindle version is only $2.99. Even if you don't own a Kindle, buying that for $2.99 would sure help a lot. I appreciate you guys and thank you, and I hope you enjoy this chapter. The screeching had ground to a halt for the sake of my ears. Everyone had calmed down as we closed in on our destination. Caleb shared with me his mobile glass communicator, which I discovered had many of the same capabilities as the string computer. Through the internet, I was privy to the oral traditions of the land of Red Rocks. It was fascinating. The native peoples of the land were a beardless folk of brown skin with a reddish hue. They appeared to me to look like peoples I had encountered far east of the Spice Road. Very far east. They were ingenious in their ability to sustain civilizations in this environment. Though their technology was lacking given the absence of beasts of burden. But aside from the interesting tidbits about their ways of living, it was a children's tale of these primitive people that ran my blood cold, accelerating my heart. Tale of a corrupted shaman of sorts that was a notable antagonist in all folk stories. Tales of skinwalkers, known to take the shape of animals, imitate the voice of those you loved. I had encountered such things in the woods of Scania once or twice. My advantage would be that they would treat me as a human, unaware of my inborn talent. And that is when I would strike. Most creatures of the night were horrifying until they erupted into a ball of flame, or were pierced by a bolt of lightning. In the front seat, Kyle and Sylvia were speaking quietly. Yeah, it was really weird. It was like my dad knew about this trip. He wasn't annoyed or mad. He even gave me extra cash. I think he was crying when I left. Oh, that's sweet. He's just being a good dad. I remember when my dad used to say goodbye to us, when we would visit my grandma and he had to work. Silver's voice trailed off. I miss him. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, Kyle said. No, it's okay. I know you didn't. How long has it been? I deduced from the conversation that Silver and Samon's father had been killed. It seemed that even a few thousand years had not solved that problem. I wondered how he had died. A plague would be my guess. Sean, I peeked over Caleb and met eyes with the man-boy. Are you still monitoring the map? Yeah, we're about 5 minutes away. Good. I had ordered young Samon to navigate us to the geographic border of the Red Rocks. Magic is an interesting phenomenon, to say the least. In the King's College, there is a course taught by Canero Farstrider to any master who wishes to travel beyond the Riffian Mountains. In it, he outlines a strange effect we with the talent have on our environments. Like a sponge, geographic spaces will retain magic, feeding the existence of what some would call mythical creatures and happenings. Though, if the talented humans leave, the land will dry up, so to speak. This often wipes out the storybook population of creatures and events, but causes the stronger forces to lie dormant and wait. Upon the return of talented individuals, the sponge is soaked once more and unleashes all those who had been tucked away in slumber for so long. This is why I had Samon watch our location. I would not step foot on Redden Rock until I knew if Gilurel had been there first. I needed to know what I would meet. Jack Callahan played the tape back, the computer screen blazing white, causing any image to be unrecognizable. Listen to that. He clicked the arrow keys back a few seconds and hit the spacebar to play. His boss, Michael Mendoza, a former Marine with a fresh haircut and spotlessly clean suit to match held his coffee to his lips. Mendoza hadn't believed a word of what they had said that morning, and Jack didn't think he could prove any of it, until he realized the audio was recording on the camera. While there was no seeing anything beyond the white screen, the audio came through the laptop speakers. Jesus, what is that light? Doug called out. I think you said it right, Doug, Jack replied. My child, you are being called on to fulfill a mission from God. A soft but commanding voice spoke from the distance. Even more distant came the reply. Yes, Lord, anything. I can't get a picture, it's too bright, Doug spoke again, ham-like hand slapping the side of the camera. Jack hit the spacebar again and played the clip over. When it ended, he turned in his swivel chair to face his partner and their boss. Callahan arched his eyebrows. Well, either you guys are messing with me, and I'm going to kill you, Or all three of you saw God in the flesh. Mendoza sipped his coffee again. Which one sounds more likely? Doug Donahue opened his mouth to speak, but realized he had nothing. The low hum of voices and work associated with offices filling the silence until the two agents were saved by a ringing cell phone. Jack looked at the iPhone screen. Lance, it read. Lance, go ahead, he answered the phone, careful to steel the nerves in his voice. Lance was Doug and Jack's subordinate, a newly minted agent. A call at this time of the morning was unusual. Typically, they'd tail the car and give a report at the end of the day, given the kid was driving while his father stayed home. What was this about? GPS had shown them crawling up the I-17 all morning. Was this the mission from God? Hey, boss, you're going to want to come up north and see this. What is it? Jack asked. Behind him, Mendoza was in Doug's face, grinding his gears about what he believed was a prank they were playing on him. The boss assumed the professional bearing of his military career when Jack shushed them. I don't know if this is a cartel hit or what, but we've got a bloody scene at a bar and no way to explain the security camera footage. What do you mean? 1 second, I'm going to put you on speaker. Jack hit the right button and dialed the volume all the way up so Mendoza and Donahue could hear. What's on the video? It's magic, sir. There's no other way to explain it. We were off the road, my bold adventurers enjoying a scrumptious meal of ground beef on wheat buns with fried potato slivers on the side. What I would describe as a pail of beverage, of which I was informed was actually a plastic goblet, came with each meal filled to the brim with a bubbly sugar brine. As they laughed and joked, I was pleased they did not fixate on the potentially traumatic events that had already unfolded before them. Maybe I had underestimated the violence of their society. Perhaps these youths were capable of many savage acts. Leaving them to their devices, I found a space beyond the shoulder of the road, and slipped off my fine-jeweled slippers to walk upon the desert grass until I found soft clay. I fixed my eyes on a shrub-covered hill not too distant, perhaps less than a mile away. Its soil red, we had drawn as close as I dared yet to the dominion of Sedona, with her energy vortices and legends. I dropped to my knees and channeled, focusing my attention on the magical properties of the region. My toes freed, digging into the earth, my hands in the dirt, and eyes shutting, as I left my temporal body and became one with the land. A geomancy spell I used often in exploration. The simplest way to explain it is that I became one with the land. I rolled across it in waves, like fingers through sand. I felt each boulder, tree, and trickling stream. Larger manifestations of the landscape, such as ravines and hills, then high mountains too. It was tactile, mostly blind exploration. I felt nothing out of the ordinary. This was a very dry sponge indeed. It was possible to conceal the talent, but it was unlikely that Gilruel would. The effort taken did not translate into reward garnered. I knew from my dreams she would be here, and she knew from her scouts that I was here. It was as I pondered this that I stopped my broader exploration, having touched on something deep in one of the red mountains. Again, like hands in a bucket of sand, I toyed with the geographic feature, feeling a cave system. It was vast, with many tunnels and large cavities. I felt something else too, a magical force. It was subtle, very subtle, indicative of centuries of hibernation. What have we here? I muttered to myself, increasing the sophistication and intensity of my spell. I manipulated the system of caves in my mind's eye. Oh, that's it. I could see it. At the heart of the hive pulsed an artifact of immense power. Shades of blue, first dark, then lighter blue, painted my eyelids. My mouth watered. This is what I had come for. This was the treasure of my grand quest. Once taken, I had only to wait for Rensharo to take its course before I would be back in Alfheim, back in time to face Cormal and obliterate him. I smiled to myself, thinking of the feasts and pageantry to follow, the king rewarding me handsomely, my legend forever imprinted on Alfin history. Oh, 'tis sweet, 'tis sweet. I licked my lips, drooling at the prospect. Yo, I know Mother Earth is thick, but that's just creepy. It was Caleb, standing behind me as my hands massaged the soil. Eyes still closed, I responded. Young Caleb, is it wise to interrupt a master while he is casting? I guess I really never thought about it, the dimwit replied. Do you want, the rest of my french fries? I put a halt to my work and enjoyed the remainder of the hot fried potato fingers, deliciously doused in more salt than a serf would ever see in his life. As I ate, the boy stood in anticipation. his body's language betraying a desire to ask me a question. I could stand the foolish grin no longer. "Speak, Caleb. What is it that you wish to ask me?" "Could we train some more?" "Do you mean to tell me that the boy who screamed like a girl after beheading a mindless ghoul just shy of 2 hours ago now wishes to receive further training on the same topic?" I stroked my goatee, the runt turning over my words in his mind. "But, the people, they were, like, not curable, right? Like, you couldn't turn them back into people, right?" The answer was that I could. I could arrest the control that Gilruel had over the individual and begin unwrapping the complex locking mechanism of spells that she had placed upon the mind of the fallen. It would be a tedious task, laborious, requiring concentration at every moment. It was like a ball of knots being handed to a child by the fire during a harsh winter. Pointless, but something to do nonetheless. The truth was that I could indeed save each of these people that the horrible witch had taken. Their memories would never come back. They'd be like children, but their minds would be their own. Given I was here on a quest, and my time was short, my reply was as follows. "They are completely hopeless, beyond saving. In fact, you are doing them a favor." "Oh, good," Caleb sighed. "I was going to feel, I don't know, guilty, I guess." "Do not waste time on such emotions. We have work to do. Before we can train, we must find a campsite." I led the boy, Caleb, to the others and raised my voice. "You three, enough rebel-rousing. It is time to make camp. We must leave the road and claim somewhere just short of the red soil." "We're working on IDs of the others, but we have 5 total." Doug D. monitored the TV screen from the back of the surveillance van. He looked comical, the great muscular man hunched over and squinting at the tiny screen. "We got them on the drone," he further reported as the rookie, Lance, piloted the small bird out of earshot and eyesight of the group. The drone was about the size of a consumer-grade DJI Maverick, but modified with higher-definition zoom lens capabilities. Doug was on the phone with his partner, Jack Callahan, who was en route to Rowdy Ron's. "Copy that. Keep eyes on at all times. What are they doing now?" was Jack's response, barely audible over the sound of wind, given he was in his personal Jeep Wrangler, with the top exposed. "They've loaded up and taken the dirt road northeast. It's a dead end. There's a wash and nothing else besides cactus and juniper shrubs." "All right. I'll be there in a few. I'm out." Jack hung up. "We've got Kevin Hatherson, son of the firefighter, Kevin Hatherson. We've got Caleb Ballard, the scrawny small one, and the rest we're still working on. Mendoza wants a priority on the hippie." Doug went over his notes with the rookie in earshot. "What's up with the sandals?" Lance asked from the front seat. Doug shrugged. "I don't know what to think after that video footage." Just 3 hours ago, they were in the Phoenix field office of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Lance held his phone camera over the CCTV footage of Rowdy Ron's playing on an old VHS TV combination. "Look at this," he had said as the tape played. It was grainy, especially because it was a VHS playback being recorded and streamed over a phone in an area with poor reception. "It starts getting weird right here. Yesterday afternoon. They were watching a regular weeknight at a bar and grill, nothing out of the ordinary. A few bikers at the bar playing pool. One was huge, probably 6'5" or 6'6". The tape fast-forwarded. A few folks shuffled around until a group was conversing by the pool table. In a rapid sequence of events, the doors opened, and in walked a few people who just stood idly by. Then in came a man who limped into the middle of the room and opened a large book. Chaos erupted, and Lance cussed. "Crap, sorry, how does this old thing work?" He spoke to himself as he rewound the tape and played it on normal speed. The violent scene at the biker bar played for them as the big man shot someone. An elderly woman wrapped in a tight black dress, or perhaps even a trash bag, seemed to stab her fingers into people's necks. "What in the world was that?" Doug had broken the silence. "That's not the weirdest part. We found this place because of the POI, meaning person of interest, stopped by. We found a corpse in the parking lot. No head, drained of blood." "Play the next tape for when they showed up," Jack ordered Lance. Lance's phone screen switched back to the old box TV, and he fast-forwarded. The big man walked into the bathroom. 2 others took their places behind the bar and in the kitchen. The man behind the bar picked up a glass and began to shine it as the rest of the people, employees, diners, drinkers, cleaned up the mess that they had made, or that had been made from the chaotic scene that had taken place just moments ago. As quickly as they had arrived, the original visitors departed, followed by everyone else, except the man behind the bar, in the kitchen, and in the bathroom. The lights were turned off by the last man out the door. "This part is eerie as hell," Lance commented. He sped the tape up, and every time headlights glared through the bar's windows, they lit up the bartender, who stood shining his glass, never moving besides that, all night long, as the timer on the bottom of the screen ticked from evening past midnight and into the morning. Doug again said, "What in the world?" as Mendoza and Jack silently watched. Lance showed the tape at about 9 in the morning. Kevin Hatherson's son, Kyle, walked into the bar with his friends and the strange man Jack and Doug had seen the night before. The kids approached the man at the bar, and the Jesus impersonator walked to the bathroom. "Pause the tape," Mendoza had ordered. He touched the back of his pen to the screen on the man with the jeweled slippers. "It's a priority we find out who that is. Designate him POI Alpha until we can get an ID." "Yes, sir," Jack and Doug affirmed in unison. "Play the tape, Lance," the Marine ordered. "Yes, sir." Lance hit play, and the big man in the bathroom came barreling out. The man behind the bar and the other in the kitchen came for the young adults. The big man chased POI Alpha until he was sent flying through the bathroom door, inexplicably. "Did you see that?" Doug was aghast. "That guy's probably 280 pounds, but he was thrown like a toddler." "Where did the swords come from?" Jack asked then. "Holy cow, they just cut that guy's legs off." "Where did Alpha go?" Mendoza asked. Lance wordlessly paused the video. He then brought the phone closer to the screen, and there was a small bird where the man had just been. "Huh." The video continued, the bird flying out of a window, and the big man following. The 4 college students running out of the bar, with the last man following right behind. "Do we have anything outside?" Mendoza asked. "No, sir," Lance answered. "They did, but the batteries on the camera were dead, according to our IT guy with local PD." "Roger that. Good work, Lance. Work the scene and see what else you can find. Secure the videotape." "Yes, sir." Lance out. The video cut. With the rookie gone, Michael Mendoza, the retired Marine, let out a long sigh. "What is going on?" He ran a hand through his thick crop of black hair. "Who do we even call?" Jack asked. "No clue," Mendoza thought on it. "Jack, you take the lead on this. Have Lance backtrack and Doug pick him up in the van. Doug, you and the Rook keep an eye on Alpha and the kids, but don't make an arrest until you have both him and the old woman in the same place, and if someone is in danger. We don't know what they're capable of. Callahan, I want you at the bar. Look for more evidence. We don't know what the rookie could have missed. I'm going to do some research and make a few calls in the meantime. Tight lips on this one, boys." Mendoza turned to leave, then stopped and left them one last order. "Take a lot of NDAs with you. We can't have leaks on this." We were about 100 steps from the red soil, making camp on an elevated surface above a desert wash. If one were to follow the dry creek bed, it would take them north into Sedona. The raven-haired Sylvia espoused concern in regard to camping by the wash. "Don't flash floods kill like 100 people a year?" "It's not monsoon season yet. Besides, I checked the weather and there's like a 0% chance of rain like always," young Seaman had countered. It was as if they were forgetting they were in the midst of a master of magics. Foolish children. The one Kyle had borrowed what was the technological peak of camping, as they called it, equipment. I was impressed with the material for tents, a waterphobic material that was durable yet light. Incredible. Next I surveyed the area from the sky as a bird, my servants below making camp. I picked spots for my wards, choosing placements that would take advantage of the natural landscape so as not to blunt their effects. It was while doing this that I detected an object in the distance. As a bird, one must be conscious of other avians, given their often territorial nature. A master, eager to survey a space, may be interrupted by a murder of territorial crows. The longer I observed the flying black dot, the more I realized that it wasn't flying, but floating. How odd. I flapped my wings, drawing nearer. It seemed to be a man-made creation, black with 4 arms that buzzed. I suspected the arms propelled the device. What it could be for, I had no concrete answer. A weather detector, an internet broadcaster, or something to scrutinize the region, as I myself was doing by magic. Satisfied that it was too far from the camp to be a nuisance to our quest, I returned to the earth, landing on my own 2 feet. I set the wards and returned to my subordinates. Can we please?" Caleb proffered, like a boy asking his mother for candy. The others busied themselves, trying to give an air of nonchalance, but I could tell they too wished to participate. "So, you've all got a taste for combat, and now you wish to hone your skills." Nodding heads were the response. "Good. Down into the wash you go." I smiled, and they laughed and jumped with excitement. From the elevated edge of the campground I instructed them. "The witch Gilruel will use her most abundant resource, mind-controlled slaves. As I assured Caleb earlier, there is no guilt to be had in slaying these people. In fact, you are doing them a favor." Again, this was not entirely a lie. Most people would probably not like to relearn how to use a toilet as an adult. "Here," I broke twigs off of a nearby shrubby-looking tree that Kyle had identified to me as a juniper, with a warning not to eat the berries, when he had seen me fondling them just a short time ago. I shaped the wood into training swords again and tossed them to my students. "Take your places in a back-to-back four-cornered square with enough room to swing and not to hit the person next to you." The wash was large enough for this at the current juncture we were at. "I will conjure illusions of shadow, which will run toward you. Fight them as I have instructed. Limbs, then head." I analyzed my servants. They stood ready, their faces that of determination, their hands gripping their swords and their stances appropriate, given the prior training I had issued them back in their great city. "Let us begin," I smiled. With a poof, a Shadow Man illusion appeared and ran toward young Seaman. The boy man wordlessly and efficiently swept his foe's legs off, then a stab to the head sent the smoke into a wisp, and skyward as the illusion expired. Poof, poof, Shadowmen charged Kyle, then Sylvia. Poof, poof, two ran toward Caleb. As my martial pupils worked, they made mincemeat out of the threats. The illusions were just programmed to run toward the swordsman and stop. Now I changed things up, adding elements of unpredictability, such as semi-random navigation, flailing arms, changing courses, and of course summoned more and more of them. Poof, 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 all ran toward Kyle, who savagely beat them back. We trained like this for an hour before the quivering muscles of some of my weaker ones in the group, young Seaman being chief, caused some to require a break for rest. I drilled them then on turn-by-turn basis. It was pleasing to see their progress. What I had deemed to be a society of man-children, irrevocably possessed by their pleasure devices and softened by their technology, could in fact be hardened if provided the correct outlet and motivation. Provided an authentic opportunity to live their fantasy desires seemed to be the ticket to unlocking the looks in their eyes now of determination, the look totally betraying their soft bodies. "Yes," I encouraged with a cheer, as Caleb proved to be quite the swordsman, "just like the Dragonborn." This comment invigorated him, causing him to leave his position and meet his enemies head-on with a cleaving sword and a crazed smile. "Children, children, gather around." I levitated down to them from my position, once the last practice foe had been dispatched. "I'm 19, Kyle reminded me. "Yes, of course." I manipulatively caved to his demand for respect. "Men, woman," I nodded to them. "What you faced today were just shadows. They will be more horrifying in person, as you have already seen. They will make guttural noises and be leaking black, foul pus from the dark magic wreaking havoc on their brains. I trust that each of you will perform just as valiantly when the threat has tangible limbs, which will desperately wish to subdue you and drag you off to the flesh-eating witch to be turned or consumed for the sake of her evil intentions." These adults bore the expressions of frightened children now. I scoffed internally at Kyle's assertion, but I was here to beat the hag woman, not prove a point to this peasant boy. She eats people?" Caleb stuttered the question more than speaking it. Gilruel's harvesting of a person's blood was what I was referring to, my mind wandering to the many shepherd's boys that the necromancers who would occasionally join my group of masters for long-distance travel would leave behind. They were pale and shrunken, their bones deforming, and cavities caving in from the force of the magic. "Yes," I left it at that, my language imprecise for the sake of not scaring my students further. "Now it is mid-afternoon and the day is hot. I must meditate in my tent. Keep yourselves busy, but be back by nightfall," I ordered. I found the tent that had been prepared for me, our campsite arranged in a circle around a campfire ring. I sat and made myself comfortable in a legs-crossed position, opening my senses up to the world around. The junipers swayed with the breeze. Distant desert mountains sat unmoving. They were my mirror image, many leagues off. Meditation is used by many casters and seems to be a universal practice. In many distant lands I have traveled, I have seen it in use. Casters have access to a few spells, depending on their talent, to use without ingredients. As I have mentioned previously, this is a limited-use prospect, given the physical symptoms that come about. Headaches, terrible headaches, followed by passing out. Meditation prolongs the period before one's head begins to ache. as well as giving access to potentially stronger or more effective spells sans ingredients. For example, instead of using air from my palm to send a foe tumbling, I may instead fire a bolt of arcane energy, with potential to slice through flesh. Yes, there were many benefits to the time-consuming process of meditation. Another was the opportunity to think and strategize. This campsite was ideal. The density of juniper trees and cacti were higher given the proximity to the wash, the desert plants eager to draw water from the overflowing floods of monsoon water in the wet months. These natural barriers would filter the servants of the witch, keeping what would be a rush attack of dozens down to a few individuals at a time. As well, the wash led north to Sedona, and would provide a good escape route should the attack come. It was always best to choose escape routes that put one closer to their goals. If I could find a place along the wash with a natural wellspring of water, I could flood it too. I would have to dig my hands into the soil once more. But an attack was not on my mind. The wards I had placed were quite destructive. Conscious of burning the whole desert down, I dialed the fireball that would erupt from them to only burn the flesh of humanoids and not plants. A clever spell, similar to when I had awoken Saman with fire that did not burn his house down. Wards could be detected, of course, and disabled, but I did not think that Gilgurel would dare draw close enough to me to risk my blowing her to smithereens. She really was not suited for magical combat. With the defense of the camp an afterthought, I turned my attention now to securing the artifact. It was puzzling, the caverns I had sensed. While exploring this red land with my geomancy spell, I could see that they were voluminous, their connecting passageways appropriately sized for foot travel. I could detect breathable air, even some water, but, as the chambers of the Egyptian pyramids had ventilation and entrances and exits, this system of caves does not. Curious, quite curious. Would I be required to hire out an excavation team to fulfill my expedition? Yes, that might be the best option. It would certainly be quick, given the machines this people could use, and more subtle than blowing up the red rocks with my powers. The air began to cool, and a breeze caused the junipers to sway. I closed my eyes as a bead of sweat tracked its way down my face and into my beard. I missed the northern wind then, and the smell of pine trees. I missed the smell of the salt spray from the sea, and the cry of the gulls, the elk's bugle, the songs of the diverse birds calling Alfheim their home. A pit in my stomach formed, as I wondered what became of it all, in the past so distant relative to my current place in time and space. Do I succeed? Are the islands of my home erased forever? My lip quivered then. Whether for sadness or rage, I do not know. But the pit welled up in my throat. Then, as the face of Cormal filled my mind's eye, that bastard! How could he betray this land, his people, destiny, prophecy, and for what? Superstition. I regained my composure as footsteps approached. One eye open, I spotted Caleb. "Young Caleb, you are making a habit of interrupting me." "Oh, sorry. Were you in the middle of an important spell or something?" He rubbed the back of his neck with one hand, the other out of view. "No matter. What is behind your back?" I asked. "Oh, this?" He removed from its hidden place a ream of papers bound by a thin metal spiral. "It's just an idea I had. What do you think?" He turned the book to face me, its paper white, with dozens of faded, thin blue lines dissecting the page horizontally. It appeared to be for writing in, but the runt had made a sketch instead. It was in graphite and was colored, a hideously childish depiction of a man, with what appeared to be scales and spikes as armor. "By Yig's beard, what in the Alphen Islands am I looking at?" "The Cactus Knight." He was giddy with excitement. "The green flesh fingers?" I squinted and could decipher the meaning of the hieroglyphic now. "You wish to be this knight, armored by cactus?" "Yeah, I figured you could use some wizard magic to make me some cool armor for when we fight the zombies." I chuckled, then laughed. Then I roared with a hearty cackle. Yo, it's not funny," Caleb frowned. "No," I wiped a tear from my eye. "No, I apologize." My chortle died down. "Yes, Caleb, one day I will make you this cactus knight." Dinner was cold chicken with a skin of bread that was referred to as fried. Apparently the chicken was covered in batter and submerged in cooking oil. Another reason these youths possessed bellies. I placed minor wards about the immediate site of the tents so that we could have a fire, but it would not be seen from a distance. "Team," I addressed my servants with the word I knew would generate the most camaraderie. Their society worshipped sports, so I found it an appropriate way to address the group that would endear me to them even more. My station as Lord Arcanist to the king gives me specific authority. Caleb, Sylvia, and Kyle quieted their conversation to listen now. Saemon was finishing his dinner, the cow chewing loudly as I spoke. I officially commission our party, the Team of the Cardinal, as we will forever in legend be referred to. In song we shall be hailed, praise to Lord Sovos, and Team Cardinal, saviors of Alfheim and killers of the witch. I shot a finger forward, and with a puff of smoke, a symbol of the Cardinals' football team appeared on each of my servants' t-shirts. "Whoa!" Sean exclaimed, as everyone looked down. "Jerk!" Sylvia was not pleased. "You just ruined a completely good shirt. I got this from H&M. Why wasn't she responding as well as Saemon and Kyle? This was her fault, the ungrateful girl. Fine! I snapped my finger, and all the Cardinals disappeared. "Yo, what gives?" Sean and Kyle exclaimed. "Fine!" I snapped again, and just Kyle and Sean now wore the symbol of our team. "Now, Cardinals, settle down. Take your seats again. We have to discuss our plans." Everyone settled down, and I told the children then of the Red Mountain I had seen and its lack of entrances. I was ambiguous, not revealing details. I then explained that our first priority should be to wake early and break camp. We would want to leave when the sun was risen, given the night is when Gilurel was strongest. "Do you think, she'll attack us tonight?" Sylvia was afraid now, her eyes darting into the darkness around us. "Don't worry, Silver. I have plenty of wards protecting us. No, first she would have to find us in this great expanse of desert. Then she would have to possess sufficient mind slaves to overwhelm my battle magics. I can't imagine she would have over 100 under her command this soon." 100? How many can she control? It was Kyle now asking, aghast. I pursed my lips. "Your society has a tremendous amount of citizens of weak willpower. Not your fault." I held up my hands. "You just don't face much adversity to toughen you. I would say, with the proper spells," I thought on it. Gilruel was one of, if not the most, gifted in dark magics in all of Alfheim at the time. Cormar was good, but not as niche. With the right preparation, she could control maybe 1,000. That would take the construction of obelisks and other totems or pylons. Every single jaw dropped around the campfire. 1,000? I didn't even know who asked it. They were babbling again, as they had been after we had left the tavern. "That would be like more people dead than are murdered in Phoenix in like the past 100 years. Kyle's eyes were wide. I arched an eyebrow. "Do they not have war in this area? In this era?" "This is going to be in the news." Kyle shook his head. "We're going to be famous." Caleb was smiling. "Yes, as you should be. The Cardinals will be famous throughout the many nations of this new world. But leave that for your dreams, my sweetlings. We must all get some sleep." I cast a spell, and the fire died down to its coals, leaving just enough light to navigate the campsite, but not enough to dull our natural night vision. The stars were out, and the moon a quarter. Ah, that quarter moon. What I wouldn't give for more time. A spell that could change her faces. In the absence of such magic, I had to accept the parameters of Rensharo. My head fell against the soft pillow as the desert breeze again shook the trees, the stars out in their brilliance, the crickets chirping. A beautiful night.